are live and direct
From this room, which we know looks like a dope studio as we're moving up.
Yeah. See this bare wall? I designed it myself. It's called minimalism. Yeah. Woo! How awesome is that?
Yeah. Nick, good to
Yeah.
see you.
Good to see you. You're looking
In
great.
this place. I'm not feeling tip top.
Ooh. Did you have a rough night?
Crazy day.
Crazy day of...
Crazy day. Fixing bikes,
Yep.
meeting bike customers, looking up weird, obscure parts for bike customers, and making a Pinewood Derby race car for my daughter.
Did it get finished?
My part got done. I had to make
Oh, wrong sound effect. No, wrong sound
Oh,
effect.
no. My part got done.
Ah, there it is.
Yeah. Yeah, my part got done. I made it. I made the shape, and she has to finish all the painting. It has bike parts on it.
Oh.
Do you want to see bike parts?
Is it SRAM or Shimano?
They're SRAM brake.
Is that?
Figure it out. Catch up, people. Can they even see?
There we go.
Oh, yeah.
That's
So
it.
we made the truck, and then I just wanted it to have. I wanted it to look like more, and I was like, I don't want to carve wood, so I was like, what can I shove in it? And I had piles of brake parts sitting on my counter, and boom, there they are. Now she's got a truck with, I don't know, smokestacks coming out of it. It's amazing.
Yeah. Just get creative.
So this is where I have to admit that some of my craziness in my day was due to, kind of going a little bit too excessive with the truck.
You went on a side quest.
A little side quest. But I also had a ton of work because you know why? It got real warm today. It was nice and warm yesterday. The whole week looks real nice. So everybody thinks spring is happening. But you know what?
It's a fake out.
Taint.
It is a fake out.
No. Little pretend spring going on right now. And so everybody's just pulling bikes out of the woodwork to get them fixed up. So.
What's Jeff Young? What's Jeff Young doing? What's the comments?
Well, Cameron is telling us to drink whole milk, and Jeff Young says hit that lactose till the early morning. And Cameron thinks he's funny because he knows that I have a dairy allergy. So if I drink it whole milk, this could get interesting. You would just see me like vomiting all over the whole table in a matter of minutes. We could drink. Whereas you can see our options. They're here in front of you. What are we drinking tonight? Let us know because we're gonna get going. What else are we up to, Nick?
Well, we're going to be talking about getting started in the bike industry. This is brought up in last week's episode in the comments. And the comment was, so there's no future in the bike world for techs, something along those lines. I could read verbatim, but
yeah, it was basically
Is there any hope?
So you're saying there's no future for bike mechanics?
Market. If you want to get into the world of bikes and make almost no money,
but have
a great time, a fantastic time,
tons of fun, and
work with great people,
good people, and do fun stuff, and do work that you feel is meaningful and important for other people. Good living.
Yeah. If
you can get the dollars combined with it. But we're going to talk a little bit about being a bike mechanic. How to get into it. So
setting some goals.
Yeah.
This is a big part of the show is just me telling myself the advice I would want to hear to myself 15 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
very good.
Do these things. Hey, what are you doing? Biggest lesson.
The first one, don't do this job.
Yeah.
But if you're gonna do this, I have had several. When I owned my store, I have a number of all the teenagers and college students who worked for me. None of them are in the bicycle shop. 2 of them are in the bicycle business.
Yes,
they are. They work for Specialized. So.
And we're going to talk about that. Kind of, we're going to break this up into 3 parts. One is getting into a bike shop. How do you get a job at a bike shop if you want to be a bike tech? Even if you just do it for a season because you want to know how to work on your own bike, or you want to do it as a career, if you want to call it that. Hook it up. The next part is you've been in a bike shop for a little while. You want to keep doing it. What are some things you can do to be more successful you are, the more you make? And then the last thing is getting on the other side of the industry. So there's the bicycle retail side of industry. And then there's getting in with a company like Specialized, Shimano, SRAM,
a
Trek.
manufacturer, a supplier, a distributor.
Yeah.
Or on the kind of sales side of that equation, like in the middle. You can be a sales rep between retailers and manufacturers. But
yep,
that's another option.
Sales rep. So we'll talk a little bit about that. I've worked for bike companies. I've worked for bike shops. So yeah, I've kind of jumped.
Bike store. I always draw the line. I always make the distinction. I always say bike store or retail store because I think that always assumes a service component. And if you say bike shop, I think bike shop can't. People generally say it's kind of it's your normal like sales floor and services. But for my own life, I refer to the time when I had a retail store and when I don't have.
Okay.
Yeah.
So wait a second. What am I supposed to say?
Whatever you want.
All right, let's party.
I identify as a previous retail store owning individual.
And how's it sounding out there, guys? We're testing out some new gear.
Got some new stuff.
Leave a comment.
The biggest things we want to make sure is happening. Sound and mouthing is happening.
Latency is what we call it.
Nobody wants to be latent.
No.
Nobody wants their wife or girlfriend to be latent.
No, sir. All right.
All right, my guy.
Let's do it.
You want to be a bike mechanic?
Yeah, you want to get in there and do it.
You want to get in. Why would you want to be a bike mechanic?
I think because you break your bike. Pretty simple.
Well, yeah. What's the draw?
Hanging out with real cool people.
I think that's it.
They're the gatekeepers.
When I was a kid, let's see. My first experiences with like real bike shops was probably when I was like 12, 13, right in there. That's when I started kind of mountain biking for real and going into bike shops and not just to like the bike tool section of Toys R Us. And yeah, I just thought the people there were so cool.
Yeah.
Very small, very different world. But bike shop people were the coolest. They looked like they had the best jobs ever.
The All-Star Bike Shop up the road from my house. I could leave my neighborhood, turn left, ride up a road for several miles, and get to the All-Star Bike Shop, where actually several pro BMX riders hung out and worked there. Well, they were finishing high school.
Yeah. Right.
You know, professional.
The coolest people.
Bike riders.
And like so they're having fun at their job.
Yeah, and I wanted at 14 my shirt, the fox head.
Yes.
You have to have a fox head.
Yes. What color was your fox head?
It was black with a white outline. The classic.
Mine was black with red.
But let's jump into it. So working at a bike shop, I think the number one thing is you got to be into bikes.
Yeah, what are the requirements? Yeah, you got to be into bikes.
First thing, I do get people who come by the shop and want to work at the shop. Don't really ride. Mm-hmm. They're not really into it.
Right.
So that's one thing. People like come by like, hey.
Yeah, that used to happen to me all the time. Yeah, at the store. Yeah, people. It's just I think most of them were people who had to fill out so many job applications as requirements for their probation.
That was part of
I
it.
think that happens most of the time.
Yep.
But yeah, some people. This is kind of my point about the draw of the bike shop. Was like some people just thought the bike shop looked cool. They weren't even into bikes. They just thought working in that was like, well, do you ride bikes? I had people say, no, and I would say that's an important component to your potential employment here. So you can fill out an application and we'll review it. But riding bikes is important. What kind of bikes do you need to ride, Nick? You got secret messages over there, buddy?
No, anything coming in? So yeah, like people just think it's cool. Actually, there was a trend in the late 90s. Go to the bike shop, say I want a bike rack. What kind of bikes do you ride? And they just
put it
say,
on their car.
no, I just want to look sporty
Mm,
and I don't ride bikes.
yeah, the late 90s, 2000s roof rack
Yes.
craze was unreal.
The black fairing with the white Yakima.
Then you start putting your stickers on it. Brand that you drank once.
So yeah, like people just, I think there at least from my time there was an allure to work at this place, the Keeper of Bikes.
I mean, it's pretty cool.
But yeah, you gotta ride bikes, and not only do you have to ride bikes, but it's good. I think most bike shop owners or managers are looking for multidiscipline. Like you ride road or mountain. Just because I worked on my own bike.
And you were one of the sort of typical stories of a kid.
Yeah.
Started in the shop.
14,
yeah.
Yep.
So started with like a permit to work and then worked out. So like you got trapped in at a young age. Is that grooming? I don't think that's grooming.
Almost.
Very close. Grooming you into this business that's not ever gonna satisfy you.
Yeah. So yeah. Got started at 14. And pretty much like first day, you're building bikes and changing flats.
Yep.
That's what you're doing.
Yep. Which hopefully you kind of know how to do, because hopefully you've been taking your own bike apart and putting it back together for a while, which was my story. Me and my brother, for years growing up, we had just piles of bikes in our backyard. We would take them apart, put them back together. We would, where we got started was working on our own stuff like that. Because I didn't get my first bike shop job until I was 22, after college. And even then, I was over the moon when I started working there. I couldn't believe that I was working in a bike shop. I thought only like the best riders worked in bike shops. I thought the smartest bike mechanics worked in bike shops. I thought the most knowledgeable people about bikes worked in bike shops. And that is true. Those people are there, but that's not the only people that are there.
Yeah, that is very, very true. For some reason, yeah. I mean, good riders do. It might not be the best place to work if you're a really good bike rider.
Right. You might need to have the summer a little more off than what a bike shop can generally do.
So yeah, working on your own bike to get in as a bike mechanic is crucial. You got to be able to change flats. You got to be able to replace cables. You got to be able to, did I say chains? Chains, cables, flats.
Yeah, you have to adjust shifting. You have to adjust brakes.
Yep.
On bikes that have those, obviously. Yeah. Adjust the other stuff. You probably have to have a fairly basic knowledge of truing wheels.
This way, the spoke pulls this way.
Yeah, because I had made the mistake of which way you turn which nipple with the vice grips on my own bikes when I was a kid, and I got those mistakes out of me. So once I worked in a bike shop, only used vice grips a couple times. but always turn the nipples the right way. So these are things you have to know kind of starting out. But I think most people who are looking into working in a bike shop kind of have some of this stuff under the belt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you work on your stuff, you're changing some cables.
Yep.
You're doing chain repairs.
How's the interview process go? Like getting in? What's gonna typically?
Ooh.
How does think I meet the coolness level that this shop requires? You and I can both agree on that. That's how it always needs to start. You have to start on you cool, I'm cool, we're both cool. Next step. What's the next step?
So yeah, you've submitted some type of application.
Yeah.
And back in the day, they had generic job applications.
They came to pay. I want you to write a customized cover letter that's not too long and not too short for every single job you apply for.
Yeah. That's...
Don't fall into it. Don't fall into it. The world doesn't need to work that way.
Well, the thing is for bigger companies, they're using keywords to search your resume to pick out candidates. If you don't hit keywords, it's a whole thing.
Yeah, don't work for a place that's gonna hire you based off of computer keywords and algorithms, because you're just gonna be 10 and you can swallow that. Okay,
go nuts.
Get after it.
But
you're gonna hate it.
The next part, after you fill out an application and talk about your passion for cycling in your cover letter.
Yes.
Then you have the challenge. Generally, most bike shops will make you build a bike out of the box.
Yes. Usually a basic mountain bike or hybrid style bike. After he hired me, he said, "We hired you because your application was the only one that we couldn't make fun of." And I was like, "Oh, I think I'm going to like working with these guys." And I did.
Dude, that is awesome.
I knew how to spell things and make sentences and
words.
That was mostly it. Yeah. I've given up on that now, but
yeah,
it's got me where I am today, and that's all that matters.
So that's kind of like, in a nutshell, getting into a bike shop. Mm-hmm. Like, those are the steps that I would take to people's stuff in time for races.
Or going to Moab.
Yeah. Ooh.
Yeah, Moab time's coming up.
So then the next part of this.
So yeah, you got a job.
You're working at a bike shop.
You've been plugging away, building bikes. That's usually going to be your entry level position, right? Because most of them are retail stores that have, pretty, hopefully healthy turn of cheap bikes that go out frequently, and that's what you're going to get started on most of the time. Pumping out cheap bikes.
Generally less, but are cooler.
True.
And it's very easy to get into the not cool big box stores.
Yeah. So that's a good point. It is always easier to get in, especially at an entry level tech position in the bigger stores, because they need it. And usually they are hiring. They'll always say seasonally at first, and then hopefully you can move on. But yeah.
Kind of the next part is, you've been in a bike shop a little while, maybe a season, 2 seasons. You're bam, and the people, they're just stoked.
The customers love you. Your coolness has been confirmed.
Yeah, and
you gotta. There's a next step. What's next steps, man?
What's the next steps? You're building some bikes. You're learning some industry jargon.
Yeah. What happens at your next one-on-one?
Next one-on-one. What's that?
I don't know. I've heard of them as well, but I don't know.
The next step, I would say, here in my show notes.
What would you tell yourself after you'd been working for a hot minute?
Get certified as a bike mechanic.
What? Nobody does that.
You do it. That's still a thing?
I don't think they are.
Are they gone?
I think, weren't they bought by QBP?
Maybe.
And then QBP closed their building up here in Colorado.
I think
Colorado over by the nuclear site.
Yeah. I think that's what happened. Barnett's was the
Can I Google that?
you
talk.
Yeah. Barnett's was
Oh.
like the place to get certified as a bike mechanic. And actually the certifications, like the shop I worked at had a big binder and it had like everything.
Yeah, QBP bought Barnett.
Bearings and facing and
Yeah,
like
how threads work.
how do threads work?
Yeah.
And that was it was actually really good to see at a young age the shop that I went, both mechanics were Barnett certified.
Did you ever get Barnett certified?
I did not.
Hence, advice to young Nick.
Yeah.
I didn't. Didn't you have to go to the Springs for
Colorado
like
Springs.
2 weeks?
Yep.
There used to be another one, United Bicycle in Seattle.
Correct.
Do they still exist?
I don't know.
Come on, Google Azza. Oh, man.
But when REI likes to see that, you do get a job at the big REI mothership. Certification.
That looks like UBI.
A little piece of paper.
Up and running.
But it's making a commitment to doing it.
Yeah, well.
And it doesn't teach you how to be a mechanic.
It doesn't teach you how to be
a
mechanic. You're going to learn most of that on the job because there's so much that is to learn. And whenever you can, anything you need to learn, there's going to be instructional manuals or videos to teach. So I think that's probably another requirement that we could go back to from the beginning is a capacity to read a manual.
Yeah.
When we first started out, there were not videos for anything.
Yeah, YouTube.
There were stacks of these books that I had to flip through to read through and figure out what was what.
YouTube didn't exist when I started in a bike store.
Right. When did YouTube
just
start?
started. It was early 2000s.
Yeah.
Like 2004?
Yeah.
2005. And then like all you could watch was like 380p videos.
You will buy anything.
Ooh.
I don't disagree entirely.
Yeah. And I want to clarify that is it doesn't teach you how to be a bike mechanic.
And it really doesn't mean much of anything to you either.
Yeah.
It's other people see it as having worked to earn something. They see it as some sort of prestigious thing, even if you know for a fact outside of that, yeah, people care to see it. You can have I accomplished this hanging on your wall, which I have. I've got one of those myself. They feel like at least you have some sort of professional commitment, right? Or hard, like, extra work that you're going to put into your profession for what you're doing.
Yeah, I mean,
so it's all for show.
It's the piece of paper.
But that's fine.
But yeah,
and it's easy, and usually those classes are fun. They're fun to go to. They're cool to be a part of. You will learn something. So yeah, if you're kind of stuck in bike shop world and you don't know what to do, and you can, come up with a way to get some sort of certification, go for it.
Sometimes, if you're at a reputable shop, they will pay for it.
True.
Yeah, and what kind of how that goes is a shop will pay. So
right, and they want to be able, and they'll put on their website or whatever that they have a whatever certified mechanic. And when so and so Joe Schmo Nancy Fancy Pantsy is out looking for tune-ups on the internet, and they're like, "Well, I want to get my bike tuned up," and they see,
it's a feel-good piece of paper.
Yeah, Joe Schmo's bike shop has a certified mechanic. I'm gonna go with them instead of the others because they don't. Even if we know, they might be better. They might be better than me. But Nancy Fancy Schmancy is gonna come to us because they think
he's a suitor. He's bona fide.
It's just a little bit of marketing of yourself. That's all it is.
Yeah, I'm certified. And that's so I want to say that side of it too is you got to do your time in the shop, working in the trenches, fixing old Schwinn's, dealing with weird French Peugeot sizes of like sockets, like 7mm socket Allen keys. Do you know about the 7mm Allen key?
Yeah, it can't be cranks. Crank bolts from I forget what years, but yeah. Crank bolts.
And then some your 6mm in there. You gotta strip it out.
Nobody wants that.
No, but you don't know that till it's too late, and that's called getting experience. Oh no! There we go. Experience. Yeah. So definitely, there's different certifications. So there's bike mechanics certification.
Yep.
Then there is race mechanics certification.
That's what I got.
Which you can speak to.
Yep. In 2009, I got the USA Cycling race mechanics certification. Which basically, that one is a formality that lets you work for like professional race teams, mostly traveling. I didn't get it with the intent of doing traveling. I got it with the intent neutral service for bike events and races. So rather than working for a team, I ended up working at events in a neutral capacity for pretty much anybody who was there. So my race mechanic license let me do that. And
does it also get you on a list? Did you say that?
It does get you on a list.
It gets you on a list of certified race mechanics. So when teams need a mechanic, they go to that list.
Yeah. Well, yeah, say, and I've never accepted because I've never had any reason to go, but yeah, you get if you're on the list, and if there's a race, say, post it out and be like, hey, does anybody need, or so-and-so needs extra mechanics, you could be like, yeah, I would like to go work at the Tour of the Gila for a week. And
have you done a week-long tour?
Not from a race point of view. I've done group events like Ride the Rockies and stuff like that.
Okay, gotcha.
But I haven't done a week-long race.
And
sounds like a hell of an experience.
This was most premium. And essentially, like, you pay, like, people pay a bunch of money to ride the Colorado Pro Challenge race when it was happening. You leave an hour and a half before the racers do, and you ride the same course every day, like the same course that the riders.
Catch you.
Yeah, I drove the Sagwagon a couple times, and yeah, we would have to pick people up. But actually, no, everybody finished on time. An hour and a half, people were usually doing well. Yeah. We didn't have any overlap with that, even though those pro road racers are very fast.
They're very fast.
More than I would have in a shop at the time. I got to take a week tour of Colorado from Durango up to Montrose to Crested Butte to Beaver Creek to all the way back to Denver. I mean,
pretty good places.
Yeah, like
pretty nice.
A nice solid tour. And then actually, I think that year it finished in the Springs. The year I did it. I think that year it finished in the Springs.
All this kind of, the certification, yes, it's good. If you have the opportunity, you should do it. You should pursue it. It's not that big a deal. It's fun. Yeah. It's nice. None of them are very expensive. Like having to fly to like Oregon or whatever. Yeah, that's a bit. But it all sort of just plays into the reality that you need to diversify yourself as much as you can if you're trying to kind of stick in this range of things. So learning race stuff, on-site support stuff, all that is stuff you can't learn just sitting in the bike shop day in, day out.
So, no.
Diversify that portfolio.
Yeah, and understanding like what race vehicles do, how a race is laid out. Some of those things help tremendously. And that's the type of stuff you learn.
Holy cow. Is Jeff Young the guy that loves tequila and shirts without sleeves? Young is getting a real good bike built right now.
What?
Yeah.
By who?
Yours truly.
What? Wow.
That's how I know it's real good.
Are you certified?
I'm certified to build a real good bike.
Actually, you should get the mic a little closer.
Closer.
Yeah.
Felt like it was.
There it is. 6 to 12 inches.
Swallow it.
Yeah.
Swallow it.
There's that deep voice.
Yeah.
Mechanic?
It can't hurt. Just do it.
But
If you have a chance, do it. That's it.
You got the piece of paper.
Moving on.
Yeah. Next thing.
Beat that horse to death.
Fit certified. Another cert. We're getting certed like crazy.
Just get certed all over.
It's another way to diversify your skills.
Correct.
Learning how to fit people onto bicycles.
Yep.
I think Specialized has a fit certification, and Serrata was the big one back in the day.
Right.
That's gonna.
Yeah.
I
don't know who else is doing it now, in terms of, like, there's Retool.
Lasers.
Pew, 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 pew.
Because
I don't know if they offer anything that's not like something you can learn and be certified in that isn't just a component of purchasing their system.
Especially in a performance shop. I mean, people pay to get fitted.
They sure do.
And
much to the chagrin of many bike mechanics, people pay more for their bike fittings than they do for their bike repair.
Yeah.
And
if you like working with
the benefits are arguable.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, usually it's like an hour and a half, hour, somewhere in there, and it's $100 and some.
$300. Oh yeah, there's all sorts of money that you can just suck out of people with fitting nowadays.
Yeah,
maybe we'll do a whole nother episode.
The retool, like, okay, yeah, laser, like, okay, some of it, yes. Really, what it is,
we're gonna do a whole episode on fitting. We should bring in a fitting person and tell them
Yes.
how much their entire industry is just.
I don't think it's complete
It's not
bullshit.
No,
but there is a lot
exaggerating.
of when lasers get involved. Really, what you're doing is you're paying for somebody to look at how you lay out on the bike, and take some measurements.
Yeah,
that's it. And then you go like, oh, I get foot pain, and then you go, okay, try these orthotics.
Well,
or move your cleat, or put a plumb bob on your knee.
We're good.
The bone.
If any fitters watch this, they're just gonna be like, these fucking guys are idiots. They don't know anything about modern fitting.
No, I don't. Not modern. From 30 feet away.
Yeah.
And that makes me an expert.
I mean, I used to do a fitting on a regular basis. When I had my store.
Did you use lasers?
I didn't use lasers. Although,
and
I did kick around the idea of having a smoke machine and getting some like laser pointers and propping them up just to like bring in the whole experience so that people feel like they're getting the whole.
Some intro music.
Yeah, come on, get in here. We're gonna fit your bike.
We're gonna fit.
Yep,
but
got you so dialed.
It's not all smoke and mirrors. It can help.
Correct.
But paying tons of money for lasers may not be the best thing.
Yeah. But if that's what you want to do, and if you feel it makes you better on your bike, go for it.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Go nuts.
Yep.
But this is about moving forward.
Yeah. We should probably do a fitting episode at some point and have a fitting guest just to probably put us in our place about how ignorant we are. But and enjoy it.
Oh, getting brand S-Tech, Shimano S-Tech. Are you S-Tech certified?
So S-Tech is not one certification.
It's a group.
It's a whole pile of certifications. They're just little modules. They call them modules.
Yeah.
So it's Shimano. Shimano's just continued training with all their stuff. Whenever they come out with something new, and with everything they've had for a very long time, they have videos
Yep.
that explain it, and then they have you fill out a word their questions.
Yeah.
To make you have to think about the answer. I give them credit.
They trip you up.
They try to trip you up, and they
They
do a
try.
good job.
Yeah.
I mean, S-Tech is just continuing, education.
Yeah, because
So-
new stuff comes out every year. Wait till 13 speed comes out, guys.
Yeah.
You're gonna need to get certified.
So you go to your S-Tech like login for Shimano, and there's a little dial up there that shows you like what percentage you're like done. And like this is not fair because you always keep moving the goalpost. You just keep adding more things in, and then the percentage changes. And as a person who does all the side quests in every video game, it bothers me.
You can never get to
You
11.
can never get it. SRAM?
Do they have what are they doing
Yeah.
for education?
What is it? I don't know what they call it now. They used to call STU,
Yeah.
SRAM Technical University.
Yep.
But I haven't participated in that for a good.
Way to make it sound blue collar.
SRAM Technical University. Does it? Looks like they still do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and every once in a while they throw a curveball where like chains are directional or don't work, this cable doesn't work with this. Like you can't mix Campy and Shimano cables, You can't do that.
No.
No. What's the diameter? What's the Campy cable diameter? Go. Quiz.
1.1.
For shifting? I thought it was
No.
1.5.
Shifting? The cable diameter?
Because you can't interchange them.
It's the cable itself diameter. I don't know what that is. The head is different.
Yeah, the head and the
So
because
a Shimano, the way it spirals is different.
yeah,
Shimano cable and it can't be shifter. The head will get stuck in the seat.
and voids your warranty.
Yeah.
But next, so this is the continuing education.
So yeah, SRAM Technical University still exists. You can do it. They do stuff in Colorado Springs, Indianapolis, and then they have stuff in Germany, Taiwan, Netherlands, France, Australia, and coming soon to the United Kingdom.
Oh, finally.
Should you?
Is your resume should be an open doc that you update.
A resume?
Yeah.
A bicycle mechanic should have a resume?
Yeah. How are you
Did you have a resume back in the day?
I did.
I didn't.
Yeah. I
Wow.
tried. It didn't do me any good. No.
I pretty much lived off the
I would like to think about it more as keeping track of your progress. Just an open doc. It doesn't have to be your resume, but an open doc where you are documenting what you're learning and what you're doing that you can come back every year and say, I'm worth more. I can do these things.
Sure.
And then,
keep your skills updated and document them.
yeah, like,
Almost like I hear this is things that people with other jobs do.
yeah,
So it's almost like we're saying a lot of the stuff that people do in other jobs, if you apply it to your employment in the bike shop world, it will serve you better.
yeah. Because if you go and ask for a raise and you get a hard
Like,
no,
why?
yeah, why? Why should I pay you more?
I'm gonna tell you why.
I'm going to tell you why. I do this, this, and this.
Yeah.
Former. You can say, yeah, in 6 months, if I hit these goals, well, not even goals, like I demonstrate I can do these things.
Yep.
I guess you could call them goals, but
I get it.
not more getting into the numbers game of if you sell 10,000 blah blah blahs.
Right.
Like, no, I'm giving good service because the numbers game is easy to play, and if you get a boss that does the numbers game where they're unrealistic numbers
Right.
and they're like, well, if you do this, you're going to be making $100,000 a year. $100,000 if you sell 4,000 road bikes.
4,000 road bikes. If you do 900 tune-ups,
Yeah.
yeah, the math does work out. If you do that much, you could probably.
Yeah, totally. The math does work out. But maybe look at last year's numbers and say, hey, if I increase it by 10%, can I get 5% of that? Can I get 1%? But you also need to keep track of what you're doing, what you're learning, how you are helping the business, and how you are invaluable.
Right.
To it. Also, I put this in bold. Don't ask. You are not going to get it. And you should at least keeping up with inflation. That's like a bare minimum. You're not getting a raise if inflation is at 3% and you get a 3% raise. You're just keeping up. So 3 to 5%, and and ask for it. All you can do is ask.
Yep.
That is the lesson that I teach myself regularly, is just ask.
The business is looking out for itself. And even if they're nice people who run it, reality is if they can get away with not volunteering extra money for you, most of the time they will. There's good bosses and good businesses out there who are on it, probably more on it than the employees, which is great. That's the exception. That is not normal in bike shops. Because most normal bike shops are run by people like me.
Yeah.
Who don't know or who are scared most of the time to talk about paying people more. Or you've got to ask.
Yeah, you got to ask. There is the avoiding thing. I have asked for a raise or asked for a meeting to have a raise, and then it's like, can we schedule this another time?
Right.
And then it never gets scheduled, and then you follow up a week later, like, hey, we need to have this talk. And then it gets pushed out, and you're like,
oh, and then suddenly we're in July and we're super busy, and
and you're like, I need to make more. And it's not just about making more. Like, what happened with me in Denver is prices shot up really fast, really quick. Right after pot got legalized,
right?
Stuff started taking off. And the first 5-6 years I lived in Denver, I don't think I paid more than $400 for rent. And that was sharing a room with a bunch of guys that rode bikes and hanging out and having a good time. But like, it was started to get expensive. And I went from, in a few years, like paying, I think, $350 for a 3-bedroom house with a couple friends a month. So pretty cheap, to like $450, $650, $1,000,
$1,000 for a room.
for a room.
Yeah.
Yes, and there was a period where actually within 2 years I moved 6 times, because two of the places had sold while I was living there.
Sure.
Like,
gotta move out. Everything was getting sold.
Yeah. Or it's like end of your lease, you got to move out. Or hey, it's getting sold, you got to go. So there's when that can't just work 80 hours.
Right.
So if that type of stuff happens, I mean, cost of living goes up, go to the boss. Hey,
money's got to go. Money's got to come too.
Yeah.
All right.
Ooh, next spot. Should you become a manager?
Correct. This happened to me. I was a very good bike mechanic.
Yeah.
Very good. I was faster than anybody I worked with. I was very comprehensive, and eventually my boss said the manager moved on and he made me the manager. You know what that meant?
Tell us.
I'll tell you what it meant. It meant that my value as being fast, comprehensive, and knowledgeable as a bicycle mechanic was no longer all that relevant. It wasn't being tapped into as a source for producing good work. Instead, the effort was, how do we like get other people to do that too? And you can't just make everybody like one other person. I've learned this, right? You can't just managing people, and I'm even not super good at that, but you help people become the best that they can be, right? But not everybody can be the best of everything. Make sense?
Yeah.
Correct. Anyway, so like you take, and so in our instance, like you have the fastest bike mechanic. He's bringing in a lot of dollars into the shop. He's got a lot of people who come in, follow him, want him to do their work. He gets a lot of work done quickly, doesn't have any returns. That's a good employee, right? And then you make that person the manager. You lose all the value that that person's bringing in, because now this person is scheduling, right? They're checking inventory. Them, yeah, that's part of it. Suddenly they're thrust into a role that really they're not trained for. Managing people and managing schedules and managing equipment and managing inventory isn't what they're good at.
Spreadsheets. You got to manage spreadsheets.
They can't. Still don't.
Yeah.
Right. What they're good at. So I've seen people who were hired as managers who actually weren't good bike mechanics, and that worked out very well. But for a lot of bike mechanics, you get good, and then like the only place you can go is, well, really cool. You're the service manager now.
You have to do
everything you're good at. You're not doing, and now you're trying to learn a whole host of new things to be good at that they're not really related to what you've been good at in the past.
And you deal with everyone's worst day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you're like not good with dealing with people, if you're not good at de-escalating people who are frustrated, you're not going to be a good manager.
No.
Right? If you're not good at, helping others with time management, you're not going to be a good manager. There's a whole ton of things.
Yeah, and
you might be good at in your own right, but like you're going to suck at it.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, and
so should you become the manager? Ooh.
To move up?
Not necessarily. Maybe. But you need to understand that to become the manager, especially on the service side, to become the service manager in a bike shop means to move into a much more people-facing role, a much more spreadsheet, data, relationship-driven role that's not just like fixing bikes. Fixing bikes and managing are two totally different things.
Yeah, and I would say that one of the shops is the manager was a really good bike mechanic, and so he tried to put out fires constantly. And so he was at wrenching a lot, but then maybe not being on the other duties. Like there's a time to step back when you're a commander. When you're commanding a force. There's a time to step back and just observe, I think, and see what's going on in the battlefield.
Yeah.
And you don't always have to be in it.
Right. If you're gonna
especially the bigger the shop,
yeah,
and the more things that are moving, just be a little bit more of an observer.
The idea of entertaining moving into management really requires, again, that commitment to diversifying what you are able to do.
Wu-Tang Financial.
Again, not just, fixing bikes. Now you have to actually learn some management, learn some people skills,
Somebody's gonna ask for the day off, and then you have to say
some business and some finances.
No.
I made efforts to learn these things myself. Still do. And what I learned in trying to learn some of these things is there is a lot of stuff that you can always be learning. And when you're in that role, be aware that there's many things that you can be learning. And if you apply yourself to the organization that you're working as a part of, but that takes effort. It takes attention.
One thing I've seen managers do is look at the total number that they're making. Like the service department's making this much. Gross versus net. And that, you can say this big impressive number, but at the end of the day, what are you actually bringing in? What's your net? What's the shop making? So there's there's a lot of business stuff that you're getting into. I mean, if a job costs you
Not good.
it's not good.
It's not good.
So what are your costs? What are the cost of goods? Getting into it. I had somebody I worked with that would always say, "Yeah, we sold an $800 bike."
Right.
And then
Probably paid $675 for it.
yeah, exactly.
Somebody built it.
And somebody
It sat on your floor.
Yeah. And a mechanic built it. Then it's going to come back for tune-ups. That's more mechanic
You've
time.
shown electricity on it for
and you
3
heated
months, yeah.
the air around it.
Yeah.
Figuring that out, what it actually costs, how to make things efficient, how to have less people touch a bike, because as soon as it hands off from one person to another, it's going to take more time. As soon as another person has to read a ticket to do it. So that's not everybody should be a manager. And
we're not here to teach you these things. I warn you. We don't know all that. I've learned some of these things.
Career paths.
If this is where you're at in your career, you need to learn these things.
Yeah.
Or at least some.
So
I think all we've done is show that we learned a little bit over time.
Yeah. For a little bit, I was a manager of a pedicab company. And I was a driver, and I really enjoyed driving. I go out in the nightlife, like a lot of the times you're the most fun part of people's nights.
Aww.
And it's really
You're
fun.
the most fun part of my night, buddy. Of course.
And
what? No sound effects?
Oh.
Yeah, buddy.
Yeah. But then I got pulled into being the manager because I could fix bikes. I think I'm decent with people and working with people. Not great on the discipline side of things. I don't want to discipline people. 30 lashings.
Just 30.
But I ended up closing the shop till 3 a.m. Just working insane hours to run this thing, and then getting to the end of it going like I would have made more as just a driver,
right?
And had more fun, less responsibility, and that's what I was good at. So that was one of my management things where I stepped up as the manager. It didn't work out.
Yep.
Yeah.
It can, but not always.
Ooh, being involved in community events with your shop or a shop you work at, or even if you're solo.
See, this is a good opportunity to highlight your skills in front of other people who might then hire you into another industry.
Ooh.
Just saying, that can happen.
Maybe the man
gotta keep things organized.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get him into the Apple Busies.
Yeah, sell some sampler appetizers.
Mm-hmm. He knows how to sell those extra add-ons. Thorn-resistant tubes.
Ooh.
Tire liners.
For anybody that's on the other side of the country, we have these thorns called goat heads.
Oh yeah, we do have outsiders who will follow this show. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, real bad. So we have to do a lot of thorn resistant tubes, tires. Yeah. That's why they exist is thorns.
Yep.
But you were saying doing community events gets you out there. Shows the people what you're doing. Group rides.
Yep.
Having shop parties. Hosting I've been doing some stuff with Ryan at Totem. We've been doing some live video events where people come and talk about their cycling adventures. And that's been fun. And yeah, like we've had each event, we've had like 100 people show up. And it's just been nuts. It's been cool for like a small bike shop to have people come out and care and watch and be involved. So events, getting involved with the community,
Again, can do it.
diversify. Wu-Tang
We
Financial.
didn't actually think this through, but yeah, the more we keep talking, I'm like, yeah, always do new things. Keep trying new things.
Yeah.
Yes, always learn bikes. Always learn bikes. Learn how to fix bikes. Learn what's new. Stay up to date. Keep your skills sharp. But everything else, keep adding on. Learn people. Learn people's skills. Learn networking. Learn just putting on events and hosting and being a little bit forward facing to other people. I know there's a temptation if you're a bike mechanic to just want to like be a lot of opportunity for that person. I think that person is restricting their opportunities by saying, I just sit at my workbench. I do good work. I know a lot about bikes. I fix anything quickly all the time. Yeah, fine. You're still going to be limited in what you can do. The only way you're going to actually have some sort of prosperity is if you're actually proactive about your bold thing here, which is asking for more based on what you're performing.
Yeah. If people like you and say, I really like that guy.
Be likable.
Yeah. I really like
how
what
we
he's
got
doing.
to be here, man.
Yeah. 13,000.
13,000. 13,100.
13,100.
Yes.
And
and one. We just got
and one. Yes. Bringing in the big bucks. But doing events, and I think the other side of that is, I think sometimes mechanics feel like people are gonna kind of ask more than what's appropriate, and there's a thing called boundaries, and you can set boundaries. Like, hey, I'm happy to fix a tube for you, but I'm not gonna necessarily true your wheel, tune your gears, and do these things. You need to come to the shop for that.
Right.
Yeah.
At the events. Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Like, hey, this is way too much. I have gotten into events and done stuff where like a family will like bring their bike and like, no, you can't. Like,
there was an event I worked at probably in 2012-ish. And it was called a cyclovia, so they closed off all of like a whole major street in Park Hill in town here, and for a Sunday, and just made it open to people on bikes and walking and just hanging out in the street and stuff like that. So I was set up in the street on this day, and I advertised on a board out front 10-minute tune-ups.
Oh, big mistake.
No, I mean, yes and no. It was super fun, actually. I possibly can do in 10 minutes. And it was basically like, obviously, like, lube the chain, lube all the moving pivots real quick, adjust gears, adjust brakes, spot true wheel, 10 minutes, boom, done. Yeah, it's pretty great. I wouldn't suggest everybody do it.
No.
I'm kind of an exception.
Yeah, that sounds like asking for trouble.
I did it for an afternoon.
You're the rock star.
Like, trying to see what I could do in those, and I had a whole. I mean, I was busy. Like I do a 10-minute tune, and then I do like a couple minutes, like check in the next person. 10 minutes, and we'd start the clock. Go. It was crazy. I think I only did it for 2 hours or so, but still.
But then, did you get anything that you couldn't fix?
I don't remember.
Like, because anytime
I'm sure there was something that was like, I'm gonna skip that. I could, it's broken or whatever. I don't remember a specific. This was over 10 years ago.
Wow, that's a long time ago.
Yeah, it was a long time ago. So
because these are bicycle checkups,
right?
You know, like, I'm happy to look at it, and if it's a turn of the derailleur, or, you know, if it's a barrel adjustment, a little barrel adjuster, I'm happy to do that.
Absolutely. So you're not a go-getter, is what I'm hearing.
No,
you're not going and getting.
I like to make the money, dude.
It's all capitalism. It's most money for the.
But then there's a flip side of getting stuck in trying to fix something, and it's getting worse and worse and worse, and you're like,
oh yeah.
And this person's waiting.
Well, because one strand of the cable is breaking, every time you should run the shifter, and you don't know that until it's completely broken.
Yeah, and yeah, they're like, why can't you fix it? I thought you were a professional.
Right. All right. What's our last option for working as a bike mechanic? What do we do?
I think one thing is buy. I don't think XTR is necessary all the time, but if you want to work in a shop that sells the nicer things, you need to ride and own the nicer things.
It's true.
And I have not always done that.
I have always done that.
Yeah. I am like a 105 SLX rider because I'll rip a derailleur off. I'm like, I'm not buying it. Yeah.
Never broken.
You're not pushing the limit.
Or I'm slicing and dicing. Like Gordon Ramsay of the mountain bike trails over here, baby.
But you do have, even if you're not buying top of the line, I think you have to ride this stuff and work on it. Like,
definitely.
Yeah. I actually own the nicest bike I think I've ever owned equipment wise right now. Like XTR, full XTR, full carbon fiber. I ride it the
Schwinn homegrown?
Yeah. 4-banger, dude.
Yeah, buddy.
4-banger. You know about the 4. So yeah, the last thing is buying the hot stuff. I don't think top of the line, but like decent stuff. The stuff that you would sell, you need to be riding.
Well, you've got to just be familiar with,
especially suspension,
everything, because you're going to work on the mid to low frequently, so you'll know what it is in that regard. The higher end stuff, if you own it, you're already like adjusted your learning curve, so that you have that knowledge built in. You're not learning on other people's equipment.
Yeah.
Which is actually kind of important, to just not be wasting your time like, oh yeah, I've never done that.
Don't.
And also try not to do that. Try to be knowledgeable. And if you own it somewhat already, then yeah, you've already learned on your own.
Yeah, I mean, like knowing what spoke tension on like a carbon rim, like you're gonna contact Envy and say, what's the spoke tension supposed to be?
Yeah.
You know, before you work on an $800 rim, or you own it and you've built it and you already know.
Correct.
That, I mean, or like directional chains. Don't put that chain on upside down.
We've been doing directional chains for years. Catch up.
But I've seen it. I've seen people put chains on.
Top chains now.
Yeah. Thing, well, we're closing, where we're getting to the end of our time. How are we doing on comments? Any fun comments?
Nah.
Just Jeff Young.
I put Jeff Young in his place and he walked away.
He's just walking away.
Yeah.
But the next thing is
Cameron has to put his bike's because his bike's been put to bed for a long time because
it doesn't. Is getting on the other side of the industry, working for a bike brand or bike company. That's the next step. And
if this is only sequential, like, oh, you've done your bike time and now your bike shop time, and now the only other option is work for a larger company. Yes, sometimes that seems like it's the obvious next step. Why does that look like it's the obvious next step?
I think if you're getting into family life, and you want more consistent hours, maybe you don't want to work weekends.
Yep.
Working at a bike company may or may not. So I think if you're working at, doesn't really apply sometimes to like traveling mechanics, because they're going to be traveling and that's not conducive.
The traveling
to
mechanic
family
life is it's terrible for family life.
Yeah, that's not conducive. But getting in with like Shimano, they're right here in Boulder, and you can do events and stuff. You can wrench for brands, and you can also run demo fleets. And then there's everything that just a normal company would need to run.
Yeah, another one is that's becoming increasingly remote in its availability is tech support. Some
Yeah.
companies are actually letting people work as tech support and do it remote. Abilities, your people skills, and then you combine it with the resources that they give you in terms of technical resources, and then you are able to do tech support. In some cases, it's not common, but it's out there, and I think that's going to grow.
Yeah.
I think that option of being able to offer tech support as a remote job is going to grow. I hope it does. I don't see any reason why that needs to be locally based.
Yeah, like I mean, I can do it. I've actually thought I have thought in the past, like, why can't I just be like essentially do bike sales? Like you contact me, you're like bike sales, and then I make a commission off of selling bikes. Like why can't I just do that?
A lot of us have thought along these lines, and I think that
And
that actually has a lot of benefit. But I don't know how you go from that idea to creating that into something that
well, YouTube.
works.
That's what
Yeah.
YouTube's become.
Yeah.
Is you say this is what I think about this bike, and
Do we
you
need
put it on
to do a
YouTube.
whole episode on our crazy ideas?
I think so. Yeah.
Because I have the bicycle mechanic exchange program,
Which we need to talk about that stuff.
video call interface idea. It's good. Or like Zoom call mechanic idea, where like I'm at home, I'm a average person who doesn't know much about bikes, but I think I do. So I work on my own bikes guy on the Pink Bike Comments. Or you're that guy and you're kind of stuck with something. Oh, what if I could just like Zoom call a bike mechanic who actually does know what the fuck?
Yeah,
he's
why don't
talking
you
about?
offer that?
I have done it. I don't know how to do it. I don't have the logistical like setup for it yet. Like how to charge for it.
Yeah.
How to
I'd say
just do it. It's coming. Maybe it's coming this year.
Yeah.
Maybe it's coming this year.
I actually
But I've done this with some people. Like I've
Yeah.
done a video call. Like it's usually with friends or a kind of existing customer. Like I'm have this thing, and they'll show me, and then I'm actually able to, in many cases, kind of help them diagnose what they're going through just through a video call on the phone. It's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, that's I would do that. I've also done when I was working in shops.
Just experienced a leg cramp.
Uh-oh. He's season up, get him a
Dude.
banana.
I'm good now.
People would ask me to do maintenance clinics.
Right.
Which
Which I think are the worst things.
I don't mind, like one-on-one, depending on what the bike is. I don't mind it.
I make more. Of course, you're paying me. Then you watch, like helping. Unless we go for like double rate to have you learn. I don't know. I haven't figured out the.
I had people that were doing like tours and certain long bike rides, and they
the people that dipped out earlier, we're just getting into the meat now. We're getting good.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I had people that did like tours and certain things that they wanted to just like be able to replace cables, spot true wheels.
Yeah.
And I would box each time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we'll just hang out for an hour and a half.
You got to charge enough for that.
Yeah.
Especially if it's like one-on-one, one-on-two. Yeah.
Yeah.
That'll be worth your time.
Yeah, 1 to 3 feels good when I've done clinics.
Yeah.
Sometimes having a group is kind of nice, and people feed off each other, and it's
a group ends up being more of a like.
But clinics, that's another
hangout time
opportunity.
Yeah.
Yeah. So. One thing that we actually missed talking about different opportunities in bike shops and moving forward in your career. Part of negotiating salary is maybe only working for 8 months out of the year.
Right.
And that's one thing it was on the list I totally missed, but like you can negotiate as a mechanic and you can figure out a deal that works great for everyone.
Yeah.
That's negotiating.
Well, one thing that is it's been true of so many bike shops that I've been in and around, is they're willing to hand out the money when the money is there to be handed out.
Yeah.
So if you're talking March to October in Colorado, you'd be like, yeah, they'll offer that to where that's what where you're like, I'll only be here from those periods. Now this is obviously someone probably not family oriented. Maybe you're single, maybe you have some flexibility in like where you live. But if you can do that seasonal and then boom, bounce out and go to another industry or another job, like friggin' wait tables for 4 months, fine. But then you're back to your dope ass bike shop job.
Yeah.
Pulling in them dollar bills.
Essentially say I'll work for 7-8 months. You'll be covered. And then I dip out for 4 or 5 months.
Yeah, when you don't have a way to make your life work like that, and you can offer that to a bike shop, lean into that. Do that.
Yeah. And you can ask for probably quite a bit more.
You can ask for more because they know they don't have to deal with that in the wintertime. And then, figure something else out in the off season for wherever it is. If it's a Colorado situation where off season obviously is normal wintertime, November to February.
Yeah.
Dip out down to Sedona or Arizona somewhere and
go down to
work in another bike shop.
Go down to Tucson.
But this is the bike shop in Bike Mechanic Exchange program.
Bike Mechanic Exchange.
Saying we need to just shuffle y'all around seasonally. The people that are willing to do whatever, and your partner is one of those remote employees who can do whatever they want, whenever the fuck they want at those jobs that I don't know what those jobs are. But hey,
spreadsheets.
Spreadsheet. Their job is spreadsheets. There's so many jobs that are spreadsheets, and that sounds
Google Docs and spreadsheets. Change the numbers, the figures.
I did a calculation here, and it looks like if we just move this number over here and do this, we're rich. Looks like we're rich now.
We're rich. We just doubled our income.
I like it. Do it.
Send it on.
Yes, I gotta talk to higher ups, but I think we're.
But negotiate. Negotiate for.
You got power. You got the power in that situation.
One season, I actually did snow plowing for the Colorado Department of Transportation.
It sounds like difficult work.
I made more money that winter than I ever have in the whole year of the bike shop.
Sure.
Snow plowing. And I worked crazy hours. You're working 12 hours at a time every day till the snow's gone.
Right.
So it can be a little crazy, but when I got my first check with it was awesome. So, I mean, in Colorado, snow plowing, skiing, there's a bunch of industries that are winter oriented, and you might be able to transition back and forth.
You can run the ice skate rental booth at the ice skating rink. You only need to make a few bucks a year.
Yeah. Another option in Colorado is
I'm bad at coming up with winter.
Actually,
I'm terrible at winter work.
Seasonal unemployment.
Right.
Of your salary until they hire you back. And there is something with that where there has to be that you're going to be brought back on.
Right.
So for 4 months, seasonal unemployment and pick up some side work.
Ain't bad. Yeah.
That's there for the ski industry. CDOT does it.
The ski industry is more important than the bike industry.
I don't know. As summers get hotter, we'll see.
Bike season's longer.
Bike season is longer, and lift tickets everywhere have gotten more expensive for bike.
Yeah.
Hills. So that's getting to it. That's our episode. So hopefully, if you have any questions, leave
a ball of wax. But if you're stuck and you want to stay in the bike world,
do what Jason did.
You can
yeah.
If the idea of starting your own business, working for yourself, is something that just gives you a certain amount of excitement, explore it, lean into it, see what it can do. Because I worked for myself, and then I opened the store. I still worked for myself, but then I had the whole store. I had employees. And now I've been back working, just me at the home shop, just doing bike repair for my customers since 2020, which is great. I have flexibility over my life and my schedule, which I never had when I had the retail store. I was not home for dinner because you were closed at 6 or 7 every night, and then you have to stay to finish stuff up, right? So I'm with my shop at home. I'm there for dinner every night. It's invaluable. So you have to look at like your whole life and kind of determine where value lies, because it's not just all in dollars. There's hours worked. There's it actually be there, or be there at dinner at night, and those things you have to calculate what that's all worth to you and for you if that's part of your life. If you don't have some of those things and you're able to just work super hard, then yeah, you can maybe rent a space and make it small and make it, industrial or warehouse oriented, where you don't have to have a store, a massive storefront, and you lower that overhead a bunch, and you're just making a ton of profit because you're working hard, making a lot of labor dollars, bringing in a lot of work, and then not having to have a ton of overhead. So
Low overhead.
low overhead, it's key. I mean, it's huge for me, but that's not the biggest part of my equation. Like I spent time today making a fucking Pinewood Derby race car because my daughter needs it for tomorrow, and I was able to fit that in. Was it stressful? Sure, it was stressful, but I was able to make it happen, do it, and I was still home. I was at dinner. We had dinner, and then I left from dinner, and then came here to record with you. So that sort of freedom. No, we talk. There's If you think about life kind of holistically, like every part of it, you can work hard to make all the components fit together, and working for yourself, yeah, there's a lot of benefits there.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that when you really start crunching the numbers and
Dude, I've crunched them, I've ground them into the fucking dirt.
like you don't have to do that much to work for yourself. I mean, you have to. There's a lot of stuff going
Gotta
on.
hustle, baby.
You got to hustle, but compared to what you're expected at a shop, like how many tune-ups do you do in a day? Like, what's your average day?
I mean, depends on how big they are.
Yeah,
2 to 5. And
and you're dealing with the person all the way through. It's not like
right,
a service manager and then another employee and then another person is dealing with it, and then they have to get back to you.
right.
And
4
then,
people aren't getting paid out of one bike repair.
yeah,
Right.
to get that done.
Yeah.
And so, like, it's just, I think it's more efficient. I think it's smarter. I think that's why I asked you to do the show,
Right.
is because I think
I would love to see more independent bike mechanics separated from retail thrive better. I think that our support for bicycling would be better off.
Yeah. That's our live studio audience, by the way.
The one person who asked the question.
Whoa, sorry, people. You just got slapped.
One person who asked the question that kind of spurred this whole episode was like, asked the question specifically about service-only shops. He said, "Is there a future for technicians in service-only shops?"
Absolutely. Yeah.
Like, what is I mean, probably the first question that pops up is, well, you have a service-only shop. Well, where is this place? What are they paying to be where they are, right? And then who's running it? That's those overhead costs, right? Like, if you can have a low cost place to work, because a service-only shop doesn't need a fancy front-facing retail front.
No.
With a sign and a sidewalk and flowers on the street and
400 bicycles.
They don't need all that. They need a space to work efficiently. They need space to store bicycles, and they need a space to put all their tools and and have for sale what they need to sell kind of on the regular, right? And that can be done. You can do better. You can be cheaper because I'm working in my garage in Southwest Denver. Now it's a dope garage, don't get me wrong, but like it's a garage. But I'm continually sort of surprised about the number of people who are willing to come to my garage in Southwest Denver. Now think about having like just a little bit more commercial space than I have. Well, you can have more trade accounts, and you can open yourself up a little bit more to the public, and still try to keep it as cheap as possible without having to pay like I paid before $4,500 a month for a retail front where everybody expects you to sell bikes all the time. So, is there a future for because I think there is, but that one needs to keep that cost, that initial cost for all that stuff under control, because all that does is rob from those who are working there. And then again, if you're an employee of a bike shop today and you're working day in, day out, and you're not getting any sort of, if there's no great incentive for you to do more work each day, you got to rethink your presence there.
Yeah.
Right. So there's no incentive. There's no bonus structure. Your pay isn't actually reflected in the work that you do, and you're just there hourly all the time. Well, all you're doing is subsidizing an unprofitable retail front for a bike store owner. So yeah, rethink what you're doing. What I'm saying is, if you're a good bike mechanic, leave bike shops.
Yeah. There's no reason you need to be tied.
No reason why you need to be tied to building fucking hybrids. Do what you want to do.
Yeah.
And service in a service-only environment that doesn't. This was my mistake in a sense. With my store was I wanted to be service only, but my location really forced retail because it's a retail front.
Yeah.
And if you can remove that, if you can think a little bit more outside the box, one of the cool things that I think is going on right now that I want to be a part of, haven't been part of yet, is what Ryan does at Totem.
Yeah.
So Ryan at Totem has a secondary location. But it serves the purpose that it needs to serve where it's at. Okay.
It's about the size of a van.
It is. But he has a secondary location that's very
also
big.
Low, extremely low overhead.
It's low.
He got a spot that can't really be anything else.
Right.
And
sure.
So
it could be a dispensary.
No, there's not even it can't even be a coffee shop because they can't fit
You could fit vials of weed in that place. It could easily be a dispensary.
There's actually, it's really hard to rent that.
Ryan,
spot.
if you're watching, tell me, can it be a dispensary?
I think Scott, from what I remembered, it can't even be a coffee shop.
Right, it's too small.
It's 12 by 12 square with a little bathroom. And there's storage downstairs in the loft to store stuff, but it's a tiny little spot.
Right.
But it's great for a one-man show.
Right. But he has a secondary space, which is a large flex industrial space on a, like, for lack of a better word, shitty side street in Denver off of Federal and Second. Yeah,
it's an industrial neighborhood.
Yeah.
The factory where King Supers bakes
is just down
right
the road.
There. Yeah. And so it always
Exactly.
smells like sweet buns.
Sweet buns, exactly. But so he's got that, so it's cheaper, and then he shares the space with Dirt Labs.
Yeah, suspension.
Yeah, so Dirt space with me as well. We talked between the three of us of having my shop there as well, because we think the idea of even three businesses like that coexisting in a shared space is actually really cool.
Yeah. And it brings you're cross-pollinating with customers.
We're all about that cross-pollination.
Yeah. Because it's, as long as you're not overlapping too much with your niche, then great.
Yeah. Obviously there's a lot to talk about with it, but you could make it work. I think that idea, that sort of creativity is where we need to move, especially on the service end of things. I'm at the point of saying bike shops and bike retail, do whatever the fuck you want. I don't care.
Yeah.
Have your stores, do all this stuff. But if you can't survive without these highly skilled guys every day, your business isn't working.
Yeah. When you can't pay people the livable wage,
Yeah.
when hamburgers
right
can pay more,
yeah,
then there's a problem.
Yeah.
There's a problem.
But if I can leave all that, function out of my garage and make more money than I've ever made than when I was running a full store with 6 employees. 6, oh, so many. Well, it's a lot for me. Shut up.
You just witnessed pure insanity.
Talking to nobody. And commit to it because we can do it. And like all these bikes, all these parts, everything else that you can buy on the internet. You can buy easily. People want to buy it online anyway. You can't buy your services.
Yeah.
So
it's all going to need
put
to
yourself
be
in a situation where your services are available to people at a way that's accessible and affordable to them, but also very profitable to you. And that's a low overhead situation, maybe a shared space with a few other businesses. Like if you could combine, this is again part of my other crazy ideas, right? Bike mechanic on dial.
Straight to a call center.
Zuma bike mechanic. All right.
Well, the thing is
all right. The other one is shared business, like a large space where individual bike mechanics, maybe bike fitters, because we still respect you, bike fitters, despite talking shit about you earlier, we still respect you.
Just not when you use lasers.
Yeah. Done with those.
It's a laser level. Construction workers use it every day.
Yeah, so do like moms at home.
Yeah, it's like, oh, that picture's straight. Okay.
So,
but are they ill-tempered?
But if you can put a bunch of these people in one location, it's going to be cheaper. You can make money. Figure out how to share
a living
accounts. Figure out how to share knowledge. Figure out how to share storage space. Whatever you need to do.
Yeah, and the thing is people are still buying bikes, buying components, and need them installed, and need tune-ups, and need
maintained.
Yeah, it all needs to still happen. The problem is bike shops stuck in this business loop, or cycle, and selling bikes and fixing bikes don't have to be the same thing.
They don't.
Yeah, and it's kind of ridiculous. The bike industry doesn't need to be Toyotathon. Like it doesn't. Like we don't need to have Toyotathon to survive. Like you can be a smaller shop, you can have storage for a handful of bikes that you're fixing. You can do it in a van.
Yeah.
Go pick up and drop off. You don't have to have a customer facing space. Figure out your area and working on stuff for like families. If I was working on a van, but I would want to try to be efficient and say, hey, I'm going to do all the bikes. I'm going to do your kids' bikes. I'm going to do your bikes. I'm going to come in and pull every bike out of your garage and tune it. And it's going to be like $400 or $500, but everything's working.
Right. And that'll be a day.
Yeah. And that's
half a day, whatever. Yeah. You're done.
And that's great. So I'm not opposed to like the family bike shop thing, but just be realistic. And when you become $100, you are already conditioned for that. So like the mechanic to come by and you don't have to rush around and do things, and they just grab each bike and work on it. That's great. So I think mobile is a thing. I don't know if I'd like totally working in front of people's houses, but it's an option. If it can be done quick and efficient.
I'm not personally a fan. I've never felt like I could probably do the quality of work that I want to do in a van, but I haven't tried it. I'm sure there's people who do.
Yeah. So there's options. I think there's the economics of it is there's still going to be demand. There's supply and demand, but or low overhead, and you're just focused on fixing, repairing,
Don't
and
tie
building.
your wagon to somebody else's horse.
Oh,
Get your own damn horse.
get your own horse. Yeah. And so yeah, there's total you can make a living in this. You just have to step outside of the traditional
Right. And a
box.
major takeaway is if all you're doing is like
And
letting yourself sort of dictate what you are allowed to make, you will always suffer.
yeah, somebody's gonna always pick themselves over you.
And if that means you have to work harder within the place that you're at in terms of, like we said, diversifying or advocating for yourself, do that. Or it means getting out of that and working for yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was interesting after I got out of the shop situation I was working in. I found out like quite a few people were making a lot more than I was, and also getting bike deals.
Most people, yeah,
yeah, and that kind of sucked. Bills, like advocate for yourself, and know that everybody else is kind of like working their own angle at times.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, I'll work for this hourly, but I want this full suspension bike. Or I want 1% of profits. So there are those deals that are happening a lot of times, especially at smaller shops. Corporate shops, that doesn't happen as much because they say, well, corporate didn't approve that.
Right.
That's the veil.
Back to the beginning. The corporate shop is a stepping stone.
Mm-hmm.
Don't stay there.
Yeah. It's
Don't
not
stay
going to
there.
do anything for you.
Don't stay there.
Yeah.
I never worked in one. The biggest organization I ever worked for was a 3-store organization. So.
Yeah.
The ball gets rolling, though.
You just got to go with the flow. But I think you can make a good living being a tech. I think one aspect of it is everybody's like, online's the future. Okay. You still have to get that bike to the customer. They have to build it. And how, like,
unless the customer can contact you through a vending machine.
You know,
who knows what's going to happen.
It's the last mile.
Right.
Companies will pay good money to have somebody take care of the last mile. And FedEx is. But like, sometimes people just need the bike pulled out of the box, put together, and this is what the knobs do.
Yep.
And I think that's the future working forward with different brands. Like, if you could be an ambassador for YT, like I will be your Denver representative, and I will build the bikes. I will give people a tutorial, a 30-point tutorial.
Yeah.
I think that's an option. I know that certain companies already do that, like VeloFix does that with certain e-bike brands. Demo.
Right.
So that's, I think, where it's going to be going, is like setting yourself up as a representative to some of these brands that are going to be online, because that's going to significantly cut back their returns, warranties, right. And any issues. It's another set of eyes that's checked the bike out. So there's something there for that, and I think people are getting more comfortable for sure. Just like, hey, I'm going to buy this $3,000 bike online.
Right.
Yeah. And companies are like,
a real nice, handsome man, good looking person or otherwise.
Maybe they're Polish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Drops on by and shows them what all the little digits and dials do and what does this little lever do, and sets it up to their size.
Yeah.
And their comfort. They're happy.
Maybe do a fitting.
Maybe do a little bit of a fitting. Sans lasers.
Lasers. But are they ill-tempered sea bass?
Only mildly.
So that's the show. I think there's space to grow, but yeah. I think the theme of the show is low overhead. You gotta have low overhead.
You gotta have low overhead, and you have to take control of your future.
Times where you have 2 months of no business, like me right now, but then like it picks up.
Yeah, last November I had very little business because everybody had everything done and the weather was still good, so they were still riding their bikes. So
yeah,
that's the way it goes.
But we're gonna close out.
Catch us next week. We're gonna try to get back to an hour. We've gone over.
Okay, I
We're
really
gonna try to stick to an hour in the future.
All right, so that's us signing out for Bicycle Therapy. Oh yeah, I'm Nick.
I'm Jason.
And we'll see you next week.
Next week. Sound effects are pretty great.